Good afternoon. How are you diddling? Excellent. Me too. Thank you very much for asking. Welcome to Wednesday. Welcome to another episode of Dazed and Confused, my 3 times a week live show, chatting to you about video animation and all the stuff that tries to help you get started on your content creation journey and making stuff for your brand, for your business that makes you stand out on social media, be it video animation, all sorts of types of stuff. I just want to get you creating content. That's the whole point of these live shows. For those of you who don't know who I am and what I'm doing here on your screen, well, I'm Simon Scholes. I am the founder and creative director of Perception Studios. We're an award-winning visual marketing agency, and we help brands and businesses with all the stuff I just mentioned. We help them with videos, animation, aerial work, graphics, stuff that can really help them stand out on social media. However, a few years ago, it became quite obvious to me that not every brand and business was in a position to have money spent on that kind of stuff. Smaller brands and businesses still wanted to be doing it, but they couldn't afford to pay an agency to create content for them. And I really wanted to try and help those guys out and those people out and those teams out. So what I did was I sat down and went through a process that I've used myself for years. And I bastardized it a little bit, took some bits and pieces from other people, turned it into a book and called it How to 9 Times Your Social Media. And it's basically a process that is everything from marketing planning all the way through to podcasting and a bunch of stuff that happens in between as well. And it's all there to try and help you create content for free. Now, if you want to get hold of the book, you can do. It's available in the section below. Go click on the link for Amazon. You can get it for like 99p. But if you don't want to, that's fine as well. Go back and watch all my old content. There's a lot of it. There's a lot of these lives. I've been answering questions since last March, I think it was, when we went into lockdown originally. So yeah, that's what these live broadcasts are all about, really, is just to answer your questions. It's to talk about a subject and then answer your questions, help you as much as I possibly can do. So if you've got any questions you want me to answer today at all, stick them into the comments, whatever platform you're watching on. That could be Twitch, Periscope, Twitter, YouTube, Facebook, LinkedIn. We're on a multitude of different places. So if you want any help whatsoever on social media or video today, stick that question in the comments. It'll come up on my screen and we'll go through them as best as we possibly can do. Today, I want to talk to you, though, about how social you're actually being on social media, because this is something a lot of people don't actually do. They forget about it. They struggle maybe sometimes with the time to do it and actually just forget the whole process of being social on social media. You've got to remember, social media, the clue is in the title. It was created specifically so people could be social with old friends, with old colleagues, with old workmates that they hadn't seen in a while but wanted to stay in touch. Or you just want to stay in touch with people that you do see but not as often as you'd like to, so you can message them or let them know what you're up to. That's the whole point of social media. It's about being social. It's not there for you to sell your products. That's not what it's for. That's what it's turned into. But social media is about being social. And if you're a brand or a business, you essentially have to be using it exactly the same way. Putting one tweet out about what it is that you do as a business is not going to bring you your next £5 million deal. I spoke about this the other day with marketing and the return on investment. You've got to put the hard work in. And being social on social media is part of the hard work. And it is really hard work. It's not easy. What you've got to do is sit down and find your audience and then speak to them, talk to them, ask them questions. Now, a lot of people struggle with the idea of even trying to find their audience. Now, if you know who you're trying to talk to, you know the kind of questions they're going to be asking. So for me, they'll be asking questions like, how do I start a podcast? How do I go live on video? How do I use social media? So what I do is I go on to the different social media platforms where I know they're going to be hanging out, specifically LinkedIn to start with, and then I work my way down and go through Facebook and then onto Twitter and then onto Instagram and then onto YouTube and find those people, find content that's been maybe created already to help them, and dive in and answer some of their questions, knowing that people might not answer all of their questions for them, or at least offer some help or some advice if I possibly can do. This morning's a prime example. I went onto Twitter, asked a particular question in the search bar, and it brought up a bunch of people who were looking for help on that specific matter. So all I did was just go, have you thought about trying X, Y, or Z? I'm not trying to sell to them. I'm not trying to start a conversation with them. I'm just offering some advice. If it starts a conversation, brilliant. And if it doesn't, I've helped somebody take the next step to creating more content. So you need to think about the same thing for your brand and for your business. Where's your audience hanging out? And then use the search function on that particular social media channel and find them. Ask the questions that they will be asking and find the posts where they've asked that question and then answer it. Go in there and give your 10 pence worth. You're a voice of authority in your field. So help them out as much as you possibly can do. That's being social on social media when you don't know somebody. It's reaching out and offering a bit of help, offering a helping hand. Now, there are other elements of being social on social media. For example, people who get comments on their content and then don't respond to them. That is a really dick move. So whatever platform you are on, if you are getting comments on that content, be it SoundCloud, be it reviews on iTunes, be it Instagram messages or DMs or comments, be it YouTube comments or Facebook comments, wherever the comments or the DMs and etc. coming from, you better sure as hell respond to those people, because they have taken the time out of their day as a fan of your content to leave you a comment. So respond to them. Go back to as many as you possibly can do in a space of time that you've got to play with. Now, if you're a YouTuber and you've got millions of people and thousands of people are leaving comments on your content, okay, you can't go back to everybody, but you've got to remember you're in a position of influence. No matter how big your audience is, you are in that position of influence. So if somebody is leaving a comment, go back to them. They're really, really going to appreciate the fact that you've gone back to them, whether you're a small creator or a big creator. And in fact, if you're a big creator, it's even more powerful because they know how busy you are creating the content and doing the work that you've got to do to get to the place where you've got to. So the fact that you've taken the time out of your day to respond to their comment is fantastic. And it's so easy to do. You just pick up your phone. When you pop to the toilet, you take it to the loo with you, and you spend 15 minutes responding to comments. Way longer than you need to be sat on the loo, but you could do that. Or you could just set 15 minutes aside in an evening. You've had your evening meal, you've put the kids to bed, you and the other half, you're sat on the sofa, you're about to hit go on Netflix. You just go, let's just have 15 minutes. I just want to spend a bit of time responding to some comments, and then we can have the whole evening to ourselves. 15 minutes. Imagine how many comments you could go back to in 15 minutes. You could effectively go across all your social media channels and respond to all your comments. Or if you are getting thousands of comments, then you could go back and just respond to across 3 platforms, spend 5 minutes responding to comments on 3 platforms. 5 minutes is a long time. You could respond to a lot of comments and make a lot of people's days. So start being social on social media. That's all I'm asking you to think about when you come off the back end of this broadcast, is how social are you being on social media? How much are you reaching out and offering help in your area of expertise? How often are you going back to those comments that you get on your content? Even just a simple thank you for commenting would go a long way. But if you can even delve deeper, even better. And the fact that you maybe delve deeper might open a conversation, might turn that person into a customer. You never know. You just never know. Or you don't know who they know. A bit like networking. So yeah, don't cut your nose off to spite your face and just go, well, I haven't got the time, and just throw your phone to one side and not respond to those comments. Just 15 minutes in your day to respond to comments. Maybe 15 minutes in the day just to be social on social media. It doesn't take a lot of doing. So give it a try, give it a crack tonight, and I would love to hear how you get on. Let's have a quick look at some of the questions that came through. I've got one that came through the very last minute, and I've got one that came through a little bit earlier on, actually. This one that came through from Leela A. Tweets, who asked the question, any tips on how to start a podcast? Really simple. And I know a lot of podcast experts out there probably wouldn't agree with me, but what I would say is to start a podcast is create an account on whatever podcasting site you want to use as your distribution tool. That could be Anchor if you really want to. I'm not a big fan of it, but whatever. SoundCloud, Spreaker. There's so many out there. Podbean. I'm not going to go through them all, but there's so many distribution tools out there. Whichever one you want to use, make sure you've got your account set up on all like iTunes and Spotify and that kind of stuff. And then just pick up your phone, turn on voice notes. This is what I'm going to do right now. I'm going to open it up, and then I'm going to go to voice notes right there, and my voice notes is open, and I just need to press record, and I am ready to go. It's that simple. That's all you've got to do. Don't get me wrong, it's not going to be amazing quality. You might be in a slightly echoey room, but if you know who your avatar is, and you know who you're talking to, and you know who you're aiming at, and you know your niche, and you know your subject matter for that particular piece, then that's as simple as it needs to get. That's as complicated as it needs to get, in fact. It doesn't need to be more complicated than that. Just pick up your phone and talk. Now, if it's your first podcast, what I would recommend, Leela, and anybody else who's looking to start a podcast, is tell the world about who you are and what it is that you do, and the value and the help you want to give going forward with your podcast. Introduce yourself, tell your story, let people connect with you in the way that they want to connect. What is your story? What are the emotional connections? What's the pain point you're going to help remove for people with the content that you're going to be putting out? What's the value? All that kind of stuff. They're going to enjoy that. And then make sure you tell people about it, which is what the next question was that came through, actually, from Jamie, who asked me the question, where should I tell people about my podcast? And that is kind of a double-edged sword. You tell people about it every way you possibly can do. There are loads of great tools out there. If you've not consumed any of my content on my app event calendar, which was me giving you 24 great free or low-cost apps that you could use on your mobile phone, go and check them out. One of them is called Headliner. Absolutely amazing tool. You can pay for it. It is also free, and it will download your actual podcast and allow you to put it over an image, a small section of it if you want to, or the whole thing, and you can create basically like an audio Instagram, an audiogram. So like a waveform is playing in the background or in the foreground, and you've got a still image, or you can have a video and the waveform playing, whatever you want. But basically, it's called an audiogram, and it's kind of, you could use that across multiple different platforms, especially if you make it under 60 seconds. You could put clips of it out on LinkedIn and on Instagram and on Snapchat and on Tumblr, on Facebook. And then you could put slightly longer versions out, maybe one question being answered, a snippet, like a proper piece of repurposing of the content out on other multiple channels. You could actually have a transcription created from one of the questions that I've been asked and turn that into a piece of content that you put out. There's loads of stuff that you can do to advertise and let people know about the fact that you are creating this podcast content. So where should you tell people about it, Jamie? Everywhere that you possibly can, and any way that you possibly can. So that could be video, it could be audiograms, it could be text, it could just be a meme with a description written underneath. Just make sure you're actually pointing people towards the actual podcast. A lot of people will put out a piece of content and say, I created a great podcast, and then not tell people how to get there. So obviously on things like Instagram, you can't put a clickable link into your description. So where do you put it? Well, you put it into your profile, of course. Or what you do is you create a links page on your website, or if you don't have a website, use something like Linktree, and one of the links that you create on Linktree or the special page on your website is for your podcast on wherever your platform particularly is. For me, I push people towards my iTunes page, but wherever it is for you, and then people will click on your profile, which is good on Instagram, and then they'll also click on that link and then click on the link to go to listen to your podcast wherever that particular link is sending them to. So hopefully that helps you out, Jamie. But you just think a bit outside the box. Where can I tell people? How can I tell people? Just think of all the different ways that you could tell them, and definitely go and have a check out of my app event calendar. Like I said, 24 great apps. Like I say, some for free, some of them small to medium cost, but not really a lot of money in the grand scheme of things. And they will all help you create loads of great content. But Headliner, definitely one of my favorite tools for just creating quick pieces of content that I can put out on my Instagram feeds and other places, just to draw people back to my podcast. Okay, right. I'm going to disappear. We've been going for 15 minutes. The questions have stopped. So I am going to say have a great rest of your Wednesday. Hopefully you're staying safe. I know we are in strange times right now. Lockdown is going to be affecting a lot of people in lots of different ways. I hope you're staying safe and just doing okay in general. It's a lot to take in. And I know a lot of people at the moment are still kind of digesting the information and trying to understand where they go from now. And if I can help in any way, or if Perception Studios can help in any way at all, just drop me a DM and we can have a chat and see what I can do to help you out. Anyway, right, I'm going to disappear. I will say have a great Wednesday. I will see you on Friday at an undisclosed time, because obviously Fridays are Daddy Daycare Day. So until then, please continue to stay safe. Have a great rest of your day, and I will see you soon. Have a good one.